We've got a solo reading this week. I used Moonchild Tarot Deck. I've already taken all of my notes, so I'm just going to be running through everything that came through. This was a very, very interesting reading. Just as an explainer, something is definitely afoot with these psychic readings. For anybody that was in my class last week and attended, I did a completely different format, and then today I was called to pull 3 cards, and I was about to start the reading, and I realized normally I do 2 collective readings, and the guidance I got was just 1. So I don't know exactly what's going on, but I just follow the nudges that I get. So we have 3 cards, but for 1 reading. So there's no little, which reading are you resonating with more? It's just the 1 reading and the 1 journey. And yeah, I think it will make sense once I start getting into it, why that is. The first thing that came through was patience with the terrain. I was seeing earth shifting. It was like tectonic plates, but also an avalanche. So there is a moment now in the collective where things are really taking a turn. That was how it came through. Depending on the side that you're on, it's for the worse or for the better. So again, this is another reason why everybody's kind of covered in this. So you're either going to be like, yay or no, based on what is going on in the bigger picture of the world. And so the focus of this reading was ultimately about our response to that, the earthquake, the avalanche. And this was feeling very ominous as a start. So, of course, I laughed when I flipped over the first card because it's the 9 of Swords. And this, of course, is very dark, very dreary, but also the symbolism for this, what this represents, is dealing with trauma and anxiety, depression, insomnia, sleep issues. So it's like she's holding the moon, and then swords are air signs, and so it's representing the mind. So it's like all these knives, swords are going at her mind. Yeah, so this feels very, very emblematic of the external environment and what is going on. So what we could do this week is to talk, to write. That's the sword's energy, to let all of this stuff out and facilitate the processing of our emotions and stress. So things are really moving, they're changing, and now we have an action item. The time frame that came through is Wednesday to really start doing this, like start responding to this. And that's because it's really necessary to make this change. That leads us into card number 2. And for that, we have Temperance. And I'm going to show these side by side in a second because I also laughed when I flipped this over because of the extreme contrast. So the Temperance card is about finding balance. So she's holding the 2 cups. This whole thing is completely symmetrical other than the cup color, which I'll talk about in a second. And this is like just what the doctor ordered, given what's going on. So again, let's show the side by side here. It's dark, it's gray, it's light, pastel, it's colorful, it's balanced. This is heavier. Everything is energetically aligned. So we are tending to the dark side, the low vibrational energy, and getting our mind and emotions and everything back in alignment. Now, when I flipped over this card, I was specifically drawn to the 2 cups. They represent the divine masculine and feminine. And so the message that came through there is not falling into the trap of doing. So the instruction that came through was, okay, well, this is what's going on. Let's respond to it. That's an action. But we also, whether this is in life or specific to this situation, want to achieve that balance between doing for productivity or for outcome or receiving something in return, like a return on investment, and creating for the joy of creating, for the joy of connection. So we're also trying to turn that perspective that we have, not only on what's going on, but how we're approaching things and making that more aligned with our higher self, the highest vibration. So I was getting that we were in that incubator from Wednesday to Friday. And depending on the person and circumstances and time zone, honestly, there could be some ripple effects into Saturday for some people, not everybody. And to close this out, we're putting a bow. This came through as putting a bow on a project. Now, this project, this thing that we are tackling, milestone that we're achieving, it could be related to some of this inner work, or if we're establishing boundaries to deal with whatever's happening in the environment, maybe. It also could just be something else. And by us doing this healing work and therapy work, if that's on the itinerary for you, that we now are just recalibrated and we can tackle whatever that, not necessarily obstacles, just thing that we're working on, thing that is important for us to do, that we can push that much more easily to the finish line. And this came across as something really worth celebrating. Like, this was a big accomplishment for us. Like, toast to this, broadcast to friends and family. That was the sentiment around the ending of this week. And for our third card, what we had was the Wheel of Fortune. And this is all about divine timing. So it's like the project or thing we were supposed to finish, we're going to finish it when we're going to finish it. This was at just the right time. This is also about cycles of karma. And I think therefore, it's a very fitting ending with the storyline that we have. And I'll talk about this more in the analysis. So it's like we're starting here, we're moving here, and then we're kind of having the conclusion of what's happening in the environment, in circumstances. We're stressing about it. Is this meant to be or not meant to be? We're getting into alignment. And then it's like, okay, things are supposed to happen as they are meant to. And whether there's resolution for everything right now or it will come later, that's what this is reminding us. Last thing I wanted to point out with this card, and I can show it up close again, but the work that we have put in, the changes that we have made, are then allowing us to release, heal, and realign so that we can move forward on this journey. So even if we're feeling that like the train is running late, like we wanted to move forward, so whether this is an up level or some sort of specific project or whatever the specific thing is for you, that next step, that next chapter era, if you've been walking around like the train is late, then our guides are reminding us that everything comes in due time. And it is now that we are ready to receive and ready to hop aboard that train and leave the station. For my analysis, I would be remiss not to mention that we are getting closer and closer to the eclipse portal. So I would say by the end of this week, we're within probably 48 hours of the net that I usually cast, which is like a week before the eclipse. But some might argue that we're already in it by that point. So this beginning and ending piece, the cycles of karma, I typically associate eclipse energy with the Eight of Cups card, but this is picking up on a little bit of it. So I think it makes sense that we're kind of approaching it. We're at the doorway. We're at the doorway to the portal and what we're going to enter on the other side. So definitely for the following week is okay, now we're really tiptoeing into that eclipse space. And we have the energy, we have those major transformations that are starting. As far as the imagery goes, I pointed this out a little bit before, but just to go a little more in depth, we have our black and white card number 1. Then we have light, bright, pastel, balanced. And then we have a card that has the combination. So the fact that it's like medium tone, so it looks kind of similar to the second card, but it has the light and the dark showing up. So I thought that was super poetic in actually looking like a really solid combo of the two together. And just the final takeaway that was dropping in as I was wrapping this up is that we can think of this week as being a journey of self-exploration. We are treading lightly because we are moving with intention. And we're getting to know ourselves better and on a deeper level, as well as being able to glimpse and get a good look at that higher self and the path forward, that journey ahead for up level and for transformation. I did take a minute to look at the astrology after finishing this reading, and I had a good laugh to myself because if you remember, I pointed out 2 dates this week, Wednesday and Friday. And I looked and we have astrology, major astrology, significant astrology happening late Tuesday, basically like day one, especially depending on our time zone. Day one is Wednesday. And then we also have a change that's happening on Friday. So the first one is Uranus stationing direct. I was repeatedly talking about change. We want this change to happen. We want to move the needle, do something a little bit different, and taking action. That's Uranus energy. So Uranus stationing direct. Perfect. That is the portal we're stepping into starting on Wednesday. And then for Friday, we have Mercury. Of course, we've been talking about what the mind is doing. Mercury changing signs on Friday and going into Pisces. I will mention it doesn't love to be in Pisces, but I have this needle placement, so I don't care. I'm looking forward to it. I'm excited. And so for some, it may feel a little bit like this as we move into that transit. It may feel a little bit foggy and disorganized, but you can also look at the high vibrational side and say, hey, I am connected to all things. I can be creative, divine feminine. So that's the way that I choose to look at it, because I have found that my Mercury in Pisces has served me. I have my astrology for February 2026 class happening on Wednesday, the 4th at 1:30 p.m. Eastern Time. I'll put the link to join if you'd like to sign up. And then I am going to be going live for my week ahead reading a week from today on the 9th at 10 a.m. Eastern Time. So if you'd like to join, I will link that as well. And between that, just super quick mention, season 3 of my podcast is going to be starting soon. And on Saturday, our trailer will be dropping. So you can look out for that. All of the episodes are fed into my YouTube channel. So it will drop into this feed, but you can find it on any platform where you listen to podcasts and where you subscribe. So you can just look up Synergy to Synastry. And if you're looking for spelling on it, you can find it on my channel. It's listed in there. You can look it up. And I do recommend, at the minimum, if you want to go back and listen to any episodes, that you listen to that 2026 forecast. We use numerology, astrology, and tarot readings. But the other episodes are educational on specific subject matters. So whatever strikes your fancy, whatever you're drawn to, just trust your intuition.